And finally, in this section, we are going to work on the third factor that determines the way in which you choose the partner you get. Which are the traumas of the past, which manifest in your present. Basically, here it is a case in which you feel attracted to a person not because you necessarily like him, but because a drive is activated in you that leads you to remember an event from the past and that you want to resolve through of having a partner. The main reasons here are two, at least those that occurs in all of us. First, choosing a partner in your present to resolve a trauma from your childhood. And second, choosing a partner to resolve a failed relationship. If you look closely, you suffered from something in your past, and that leads you to choose the partner who could potentially help you solve that problem. Something that never happens, but as you can see, here it is again your psyche, which is putting you under a spell and controlling you so that you do its will and not yours. As I always say, the idea is that you learn to recognize these forces so that you eventually develop the ability to control them. Let's see the first case of this factor of past traumas. I choose a partner to resolve some trauma from my childhood. So when you were a child, you liked a person you never had, the first love syndrome, and the situation becomes much more complicated in case you have expressed your feelings for that person and that person has rejected you. This, on an unconscious level, will cause you to look for people who look exactly like the one you didn't have at that time. And that is a problem because in practice, you are not following your own tastes. But in reality, what you want to do is fill that void that you experienced in your childhood. You want to recover your lost self-esteem. It's not that you necessarily like that person, but in reality, you are looking to resolve that conflict that was left open at that time in your life. If you notice, there's an issue of undervaluation here. They made fun of me, they rejected me, and because of that, I want to show that the person who rejected me in my childhood accepts me now that I am an adult. It's very possible that you didn't even really know the person who rejected you, but you interpret it through the eyes of a child. And that's why, on an unconscious level, I am always looking for people who can fill that void, that they resemble that person that I didn't have or that made me feel little. I want to recover my ego by entering into a relationship with someone who will never give me what I am looking for. Because here, the key will always be the fact that you are the one who manages to reinforce your ego state on your own. The other case is that of the person who wants to resolve in their current relationships those problems they experience in a failed relationship. It's something we all experience. In my practice, the majority of my clients who come with a divorce issue enter into a second relationship to try to resolve the conflicts that they could not resolve when they were married. And this happens because your previous partner, in the process of breaking up, surely said very hurtful things to you regarding your personality or the way in which you behaved. And this causes you to take out of context the perception that the person who is interested in making you feel bad about yourself has about you. It is not an objective vision. So, if your ex told you that you were very little affectionate or concerned about him, what is going to happen? You are going to look for a partner to prove to yourself that you are someone who is concerned and affectionate. But in that process, you are going to stop being who you are. You are going to behave how your ex-partner wanted you to behave. It is as if your ex-partner became a psychic ghost that torments you in each of the decisions you make. To exemplify this, I am going to tell you the case of a person who divorced his partner who had been unfaithful. But in the process of breaking up, her partner told her that it was her fault that he had been unfaithful to her. Something that happened because she was not very affectionate and she was even cold towards him. The problem is that my client was a cold woman. She was serious by nature. So what happened? She looked for a relationship with a cold person who treated her badly to show himself that she could be someone affectionate. And she entered into a toxic relationship with someone who was very indifferent to her approaches, to the point that she tried to be as pleasant and affectionate as possible, despite the bad treatment she received from her new partner. Because if you look to that relationship, she was trying to resolve what had been left in suspense in her past relationship. And that led her to develop anxiety because in practice, she was limiting her personality, not even to satisfy her new partner, who she doesn't even like, but to satisfy that partner who had been unfaithful to her in the past. When we did this exercise, she realized what was happening, and that made it possible for her to resolve these conflicts in therapy. That is why I always recommended that before entering a new relationship, when you have not developed everything you are learning in this program, you give yourself the space to heal and ideally that you undergo therapy to resolve all the conflicts that we are working on here. So the idea here is that you think about the past traumas that at the level of childhood and failed relationship have led you to choose your partners in the present.